Welcome to SoCal Tech Interviews, where we talk with the investors, entrepreneurs, and others in Southern California's high-tech industry. Our interview today is with Andy Wilson, Executive Director of the Alliance for SoCal Innovation. I'm Ben Kuo, founder and editor of SoCalTech.com.
Hi, I'm Andy Wilson. I'm the Executive Director of the Alliance for SoCal Innovation.
And talk about what the Alliance for SoCal Innovation is.
Right. The Alliance for SoCal Innovation is a relatively new not-for-profit focused on bringing the resources together across Southern California, mostly in the innovation and high-tech areas, collaborating with the research universities. And we do that by understanding ecosystems and stimulating ecosystems that kind of compose what I call the network of Southern California innovation.
And talk about how you got into this. You know, I know you've been in the tech industry for a while. How did you get involved with the Alliance?
So, as you know, I've been kind of a entrepreneur and then a venture capitalist, and what I realized how important it is to have a vibrant ecosystem for people like myself who are innovators to be successful. And so as I've kind of gotten a little bit older in my life, I think about how I can help other entrepreneurs have a more successful journey and a higher likelihood of being successful. So I got attracted to the work that was being kind of originally ideated at the SoCal Alliance, which, as you probably know, may recall, I did some work at Innovate Pasadena, which was kind of a prototype of this work, and this allowed us to take some of that thinking across Southern California.
Interesting, and I know that with the Pasadena work, you learned a lot about the community and making it work. What makes a community work like this?
So we're very fortunate to have, in the Pasadena case, it was more kind of organic when we figured this out, and as part of the SoCal Alliance, we get the benefit of a very generous support from the Boston Consulting Group. So they've actually become very systematic around answering those questions. But as you know from your work as kind of a journalist, is there stakeholders that need to kind of work together? You need to have a critical mass of things like research universities, entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, kind of infrastructure that allows those pieces to come together. It's almost like, mixing a cake. You need to have all those ingredients, and then you need to then bring them together. And so there's kind of a bit of a formula, but the formula that maybe you use in a place like Westlake Village is probably different than the one you use in a downtown Los Angeles or in Irvine. So figuring out how to tailor those formulas and engage stakeholders to stir that kind of recipe is really what we're focused on doing.
And talk about the First Look. This is I know one of your big programs. What is this all about?
So we're at First Look today, and this is one of our marquee events. And as I mentioned, we collaborate very closely with about 24 research universities and institutions. And you can imagine all the great intellectual property that's coming out of those universities. And what we're interested in is taking those great ideas and moving them through the commercialization process, getting them out of the lab into products and companies. And so how do you do that in mass? And so this brings those best companies. We choose 30 of the best companies and bring them in front of operators, entrepreneurs, and investors in hopes that we can help de-friction and move some of that technology into the commercial markets.
Now, I know there's probably thousands of these, but what is the biggest thing you've learned about entrepreneurship as advice for an entrepreneur over your years? I know you've done a lot, and what are some of the things that you learned?
So having a great idea is important, but having a great idea at the right time is even more important. I can tell you, having been involved in more than 20 ventures, it's just as bad to be too late, too early, I should say, as it is to be too late. So that timing is super important. And of course, execution. The idea is great, but it really kind of precise, systematic execution with a focus on, say, customer discovery. If you can pull those things off, you have a good shot at it.
What are the things that you think that we need to work on?
So unlike other communities, let's say like a Boston where it's hyper concentrated, we have this kind of network of communities. So I think understanding where those centers of gravity are in Southern California and celebrating those, and I think understanding what makes them unique and compelling. So having a local identity is important. Then ultimately, we think to have success as a region, we need to interconnect and create a network of those communities to help all of Southern California work together. So this sense of self-identification and then finding stakeholders who care in each of those what we call nodes is mission critical to bringing a community to life. And I can tell you that we wouldn't have had the success in, let's say, the Pasadena area if we didn't have people who cared and leaned in, who also could relate to the entrepreneur's journey.
And so if there are folks who would like to get involved to make this a better ecosystem, how do they engage with you?
Yeah, so we have recently hired a director of ecosystem development, and he's engaging with interested stakeholders across Southern California to share some of our knowledge and best practices and roadmaps to allow them to kind of elevate their own communities. We can't do it for you, but we certainly can be your guide.